Ladies and gentlemen, I bring with me a DVD with a short video, very interesting video about the last 7 years fight, but unfortunately it's not compatible with the system, so we will manage it without that. First of all, let me express my thanks to Dr. Katherine and her helpers who worked beyond their power to make this second international come to life. This shows that the European Regulatory Committee for Consumer Rights is needed and it fulfills a niche in representing people. All who are part of this committee fight for stopping the greatest financial fraud of our century. I am a president of the Bank Debtors Interest Association from Hungary and also the president of the Homelands Party, which is a political party. Just before someone might think that I would want to hold a political lecture about political ideologies, let me assure you I won't. 7 years ago, we founded the Bank Debtors Interest Association because we realized that one individual is not able to take on the fight with the bank plundering him. In most cases, one does not even realize what is happening to him. He only sees that his situation is hopeless. Thousands fell victim of this and committed suicide. For years in Hungary, banks have been lying that there is a real foreign currency behind these loans. After 5 years in court, climbing all the steps of the ladder, the first instance ruling, the appeals court, the European Court in Luxembourg, and the Hungarian Supreme Court, we proved that there was no foreign currency behind these loans at all. With all this work, and by starting a new political party, even though we haven't gotten into the parliament, we were able to force the government to account the banks to which 1.5 million loan contracts were recalculated. The banks had to repay to the people a total of $5 billion in Hungarian forint. This is only a split part of what they unlawfully have taken from the people. Yet, this is enough to prove that in every single case, when contracts have been terminated, when people have been evicted, not just that they haven't paid enough, they have actually overpaid. Due to our pressure to the government obliged the banks to recalculate, but it left them an escape route. The banks only had to actually pay out money if the debtor had no more debt left. If he did, they simply deducted that refunded amount from the debtor. On top of it all, they created a new law for exchange and did a permanent forced exchange to forint at the highest daily rate. This was an incredible burden on the people. We are fighting for both these laws, the settlement law and the forced foreign exchange law at the Constitutional Court. We ask them to repay the unlawfully taken amounts. They have no right to determine where that money goes. We ask that the law spells out that all terminated contracts we illegitimately terminated, because although currently the banks are obliged to recalculate the illegitimately taken amounts, but the actions resulting from that, like termination of contract or evictions, were not stopped. They were allowed to go on. We asked for foreign exchange law to be terminated and presented all evidence to the Constitutional Court that there was no reason for the change in the exchange rate change, as there was no real service delivered. Let me give you my example. I paid a total of 26,000 Swiss francs in monthly repayments. When it was recalculated, it turned out that 12,000 of this was charged illegitimately. This is a 47% of my total payments. This overpayment means that I have paid for 2 years up front when the bank terminated my contract for remainder of debt. But the created laws let this craziness go on. Only we people, together, with international joint forces, can stop it. Unfortunately, still many are ashamed and keep it secret that they got into financial difficulties. In many cases, the media even enlarge this feeling and they report of irresponsible debtors, although in reality this is a serial fraud committed by an international organized crime. This could have ended long ago if the authorities, the courts, and the politicians would not cover the financial mafia. But the fact that we are here, we are more organized by the day, guarantees that these criminals won't come through, because it did not only have economic consequences, but they caused thousands of personal tragedies. People's health was destroyed, families torn apart, thousands have taken their own lives. In Hungary, more than 4,000. In Hungary, more than 4,000 borrowers committed suicide, and orphans were left behind. We unraveled this case in Hungary. We organized big protests. We had tens of kilometers of cars driving in a caravan. We had 20,000 people participating, but the national media didn't air a minute of all this. The ones in charge are protecting each other, trying to avoid impeachment, but we won't let them. They did all they could to make us afraid, but they can't. At one of the protests, they arrested me, locked me in a cell full with bed bugs, and started a procedure against me that could result in 2 to 8 years of imprisonment, all because we occupied a square in Budapest. All this tells me that we are on the right track. In 1.5 million recalculation letters, the banks have written down 1.5 million times that they have illegitimately charged us. This is a half of the victory. This never happened before in the world of bankers. I recommend everyone to talk about this openly and honestly. We have nothing to be ashamed about. Find a group that you can belong to, but do this with open eyes, because there is a real industry out there to drain the already desperate debtors. As for the professional part, all everyone has to understand and learn is this. There are strict laws that regulate the loan contracts of banks, telling them how to operate. Therefore, they cannot just put anything in a contract just by simply referring to freedom of contract. In a case of a loan, it is not enough to say they use a certain currency. That currency has to be actually given to the debtor, or there has to be a documented conversion exchange. Because the bank can only demand back a loan that he has actually given. Interest rate can only be charged for the money he has actually given, just like using the exchange rate is only chargeable if there was a real service behind it, but there wasn't. Therefore, there could not have been a change in the exchange rate, as there was no service behind it. But I believe that together we can achieve a true impeachment. In Hungary, Hungary has 10 million inhabitants, and we have 1.5 million contracts in Swiss francs, and nobody saw a Swiss franc. So we gained back until now about $5 billion US worth in Hungarian forints, And now we are fighting to gain back another 45 billion US dollar worth in Hungarian forints. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I think together with international joint forces we can win this war, because this is a real war. Believe me, this is a real war. Thank you very much for your attention.